Okay, recording. I'm going to splice this with Henry's story and make a whole presentation. I'm not sure if I can go ahead with my plans on it, though. I got a kind of warning today. This recording is made August 7th, 1981. It's been, what now? 15 years since Henry came riding into Koneko out in East Ventura County. What I'm going to remember for you now happened in 1966. Now let me set the scene. It's the summer of '66, the day the rider comes, and we're shooting Billy the Kid versus Dracula on the Corrigan Ranch. Me, I'm the sound man, hoping this is the last shot of the day. It's a damned hot day, even in the late afternoon, with the wind blowing in from the Mojave. My head throbs and my sweaty shirt rasps on my back as I adjust the boom mic over John Carradine and Harry Carey Jr., wishing I wasn't there at all. Getting paid barely enough money to make it worth showing up. But it's the only job I can get. Hell, it's the only job any of us could get. Harry's playing a wagon master. Carradine is a vampire. And both are in costume, standing by a covered wagon, trying to catch some of its shade. "John," Harry says, "why the hell are we in this crap picture?" Not much trying to keep his voice down. Carradine just laughs affably, says in that voice that seems too deep for his skinny little body. "Because if we didn't, we'd have to pursue honest labor, Harry." Harry starts to answer back, but then he shades his eyes with his hand and squints up at the hills over the movie ranch. "Looks like a rider up there on top of that hill. Damned hot day to be riding out in the sticks." Sounds like a line from a movie. A better one. I turn to look, and yeah, there's a guy on a black and white pony up there raising some dust, moving his horse slow, watching us. I'm thinking it's one of the wranglers, probably. Then get a funny feeling seeing him up there. The stranger's a long ways off. I can't make out his face, but I can feel him looking right at me. Then the director shouts at me to get the goddamn duct tape slapped on the boom mic and get out of the way for the take. 2.5 hours later, the ordeal's over for now. No night shoot today. So I'm sitting at a card table set up by my little silver Airstream trailer 100 yards upslope from the set, on the little dirt road that passes behind the town. It's dusk, half an hour after we stopped shooting, trying to get the damned Revox reel-to-reel to stop jittering. Of course, we mainly did sound-to-film recording, but I'd been collecting some wild sound and atmosphere stuff for the Foley editor to use later. And I'm listening to the crickets as the sun goes down, and fumbling with the reel-to-reel switches. Screwing up because, to be honest, I'm drinking, right? More than usual, I mean. Been getting worse all year. My wife ran off to Las Vegas with a broken-down stuntman about a year before. Took my savings with her. I'm 45 years old and working on Poverty Row. On junk like this. My daughter hasn't spoken to me in almost a year, and I got fired off the last shoot for drinking. Tequila. Maybe that's why Henry picked me. Or maybe he saw the stamp of destiny. So, I'm sitting in front of my Airstream nursing my Cuervo when I hear a clopping sound and catch this funny smell. Not so funny, more like strange and sick. I look up from the quarter, set up on the card table, and there's this leathery, snaggle-toothed rider squinting down at me from his horse. He's skinny, got jug ears, and long gray hair. The sunset is in his eyes. Blue eyes, under heavy dark eyebrows. On his worn-out saddle is a rifle holster with what I assume is a prop Winchester in it. I glance past him, see a trail of dust hanging in the crotch between the scrubby hills. I figure this is the rider Henry spotted, the one watching us this afternoon. He's ridden down out of the eastern Santa Susana foothills around Corriganville. Old Crash Corrigan bought the ranch land back in the 30s and turned it into a low-budget movie set, mostly for westerns and serials, but they made all kinds of pictures here, and parts of pictures, even some Tarzan and television later. But this rider, he's coming from the mountains, and on the other side of those mountains is the Mojave Desert. I figure he can't have come that far. Must be an extra fooling around with one of our rented horses all afternoon. If Mr. Boudin sees you took one of our horses out for a joyride, I advise him, he's liable to fire your ass off the chute. "Don't know Mr. Boudin," he says to me. He had a voice that went from squeaky to gravelly in a few syllables. "Anyway, this here's my own damn horse. Pedro's his name." "Boudin's his name. The director of the goddamn movie," I say. I remember trying to figure out how old the writer was. Couldn't guess. Might be old or just weather-beaten, premature gray. I've never seen such leathery skin, like it was stripped off, run through a tannery, and put back on. His hodgepodge outfit doesn't look like it belongs to the standard Western costuming they put the cast in. He's wearing an antique military jacket, khaki, a few brass buttons left, yellow collar, like something one of the Rough Riders would have worn going up San Juan Hill. He has big dusty clodhopper boots on, dungarees, and a stained, dust-coated sombrero. There's a red bandana around his neck, though. That's the only bit of costumery on him that seems to go with the production. He sits there on one of those black and white Indian ponies, a grimy pinto stallion who snorts and lowers his head to the ground, looking for something to crop up, but there's nothing but sage. Music plays from one of the other trailers, a song by the Beatles, Drive My Car. The writer looks toward the sound. "Now that's a queer song," he says. "Beep, beep, beep," they say. He sticks the tip of his tongue out to catch it between the crooked buck teeth, as if to keep from laughing. "That's the Beatles," I say. "Sounds more like birds peeping away," he says. "Say there, bub." And he leans over the pommel of the most worn-out saddle I'd ever seen to look real hard at the bottle of Cuervo sitting on the table. "That there tequila." It takes me a moment to figure out that he meant tequila. "Sure, climb down and have a slug, bro." Anything to take my mind off my life. He steps down off the horse, doesn't bother to tie it up. The Indian pony wanders off, and the rider doesn't seem worried about it. He limps energetically toward the other camp chair, sits with a grunt, slapping the dust off his dungarees. He accepts the bottle from me. "You ain't got a glass? I'm not a barrel boarder. I'll have a glass if there is one." "Sure." I go off into the trailer, find a second glass, and when I come out, I see him poking at my tape recorder. "Don't touch that," I tell him sharply. "Not cool, man." He draws his hand back, sits up straight, shrugging, adjusting his bandana. "You use that machine to make a movie picture?" "Just for certain kinds of sound effects. Here," I pour him the tequila. He takes the tumbler and raises it to me. "Here's how." He knocks back a half glass like nothing. He's real quiet for a minute, his face shaded by that dirty sombrero. "That's good tequila," he says at last. "Don't drink much, till after. What's your name, bub?" "Jack," I tell him. "You?" "Gone back to my own given name? Henry. Well, it was William Henry McCarty, but I like Henry." I sit next to him. "You changed your name at some point, huh? Police trouble?" You could say that. You could say I started out I went by Antrim after my stepfather. He was a right son of a bitch. Never knew my real pap. Later, when I got into some trouble for shooting that pig snout Cahill, I went by Bonnie, William H. Bonnie. He smiles ruefully. Alias Billy the Kid. When he says that, I'm thinking, oh Jesus, we've got a live one here. A grade A liar or a B grade lunatic. It's cooling off now, and he pushes his sombrero back so it hangs off his neck by the chin string.